The assassins, are you here? I can see you're here, but I need to confirm if you are actually available, like you're present.
He's present.
Okay.
Present.
The wanted unknowns, are you present and available for the round? The wanted unknowns. Okay, then. Thank you very much, Coach. Yes. Okay, so let's just give them about 2 minutes for all of them to join, because I think I've seen one of their team members here.
We are the dreamers, we make it happen. Guess we believe it. Look who we are the dreamers, we make it happen. Cause we can see it. It's to the ones that keep the passion, respect. Oh yeah, it's to the ones that can imagine, respect. Oh yeah. Gather round now, look at me.
Okay, hi, good morning, everyone. I guess every single person and team is here already, so we just hit the round straight up. My name is Ifeoluwa Omoniyi, Dada, Ife for short, and I will be the chair for this round. On me, I have a with me, I have a panel. So can my panelists just introduce themselves?
You can call me V, and I'll be the panelist for this round. Thank you.
Great. So without wasting much of our time, please let's all state our preferred pronouns and our POI preference so we don't badger into each other's speeches. Let's remember to be as orderly as possible. Also, this is round 4 and it's going to be an open round for every single person. That means you get your oral adjudication after the round. Panelists, please, can you help us time each speaker? Is that fine by you? You can just drop timestamps in text space.
But I'll be doing it manually because I can't access the automated function.
Oh, it's very much fine. Great.
No problem.
Okay, so without wasting much of our time, let's get the motion from my end. The motion for round 4 has an info slide that we already know, so I won't be reading it. I'll just go straight to the motion. The motion before the House states This house prefers a life as the individual with realistic eyes of death perception as opposed to living an average anonymous life. Once again, this house prefers a life as the individual with the mystic eyes of death perception to the living as opposed to living an anonymous as opposed to living an average anonymous life. Without wasting much of our time, can we have the leader of proposition start today's debate? Here.
Okay, thank you. Kano, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please start your speech.
Okay, I'll be beginning in 3, 2, 1. So this house prefers a life as the individual with mystic eyes of death perception as opposed to living an average anonymous life. This motion, before I even break down and contextualize this motion, we must acknowledge at least 3 things which were in the info slide. 1, this motion, we're preferring a life where you have the ability to see when anyone you meet or see physically will die, but you cannot change it. That's the first thing we must know. The second thing we must know is that you cannot actually see your own death, but only those ones who you actually come into contact with. And the third one is that this person is the only one in the world who has this ability. So those are the 3 main things we get from this info slide. So after that, as the individual, there are 2 things. 1, this individual has a great sense of responsibility and burden. On one hand, we must acknowledge that it will help to provide opportunity to prepare others for their own death. And this person has actually a great sense of responsibility and opportunity. However, we must also acknowledge that it can also be emotionally draining to see the death of another person or a loved one, which is going to happen in the future. 2, the second thing we must acknowledge is that one would have to be careful about who he shares the knowledge with, as it could potentially cause panic and chaos in the society. So if I am that person who actually has that ability, the only person in the world, I would have to be careful about who I'm sharing this knowledge with. The team opposition is going to try and bring an argument probably about panic, but one of the things that we are going to set down in this debate is that the person who has this ability will only be giving it to the person, to those ones who ask, those ones who want, and those ones who really show interest in knowing it. So this issue of panic will actually not be caused because this person will only do it to those ones who actually agree, consent, and who actually want to know when they are going to die. However, we must know that this ability would provide a unique opportunity for a person who has this ability to connect with others in a deeper level, to greatly understand them, and to actually interact with them before they actually perish. And someone can actually use this gift to bring comfort and closure to those facing their death, and it can actually help those ones who are actually going to die to make the most out of the time we have left. We have a short life, and people actually do not take the most out of this life. So having this ability will actually help people find closure and help them actually use the most and get the most out of their life. So the first argument which we're going to bring, or the first contention which we as Team Affirmative are going to bring today, is that it can be used for the greater good. What am I meaning by the greater good? It means that we can use this knowledge to actually help people for their death and actually help people to do things which they may not have actually done in case we did not have this power before they did. What are some of these things? Let's say amending of broken relationships which are there before the death of the person. Can help them in amending the relationships before they die. We can actually help them in the event that they're about to die and they actually haven't left a will or property. So all these issues will actually be solved in case someone has not actually left or distributed their property very well. It can actually be helped in this way. It can also be helped in enabling people to actually restore their debts which had actually been lost, which actually had been accumulated. In case this person is a husband and he had accumulated a lot of debts, it can actually be used in this line to help him to pay these debts, such that they actually not passed on to the next person. It's important to use this ability for the greater good, so as not to leave a family after this to actually suffer, since it's going to actually clear most of the issues before they die, and the greater good will actually be accomplished. The impact of all of this will help to solve issues like family wrangles. We must acknowledge we live in a society whereby when people die abruptly, the husband or the wife, they leave property, and the people after that actually start fighting for their property. So all these issues will actually be solved and the greater good would have been achieved simply because people will actually help in achieving it. This person will actually help people before their death to actually do certain things which will be used for better things. On a comparative analysis to Team affirmative, where you do not actually have this person and everyone living there. I'll take you in a minute, and everyone is actually living their ordinary life. We're going to have families suffering. We're actually going to have these wrangles in families. To add an example, just for the greater good, in case we take a look at the medical field, we can actually use this person can use this ability to actually help people in the medical field. We have incidences where people are actually about to die, they're on their deathbeds, and actually people are using a lot of money. People are using over 10 million, 20 million in 2 days just on someone on their deathbed. Actually, if we had someone with that ability, would actually be helping in the medical field. One, to actually cap the rates of poor people actually spending a lot of money, their people are going to die. But doctors, if assuming if this person is actually a doctor, he can use this ability to actually comfort the grieving family, or actually comfort the person who is about to die before he actually dies, in advance solving the issue of grief. I'll take your POI now.
If this mystic seer predicts that you're going to die in the next 10 minutes, do you think you can achieve any of whatever you've said?
But once you've said 10 minutes, like I've said, it's the person who is going to die. It's any person who is going to come and actually approach that we're actually going to come and tell the person who is going to die. If this person has not approached me, then I cannot help him. But in case he approaches me and says he wants to know when he's going to die, I can help him and actually tell him, and then we can start sorting out on certain issues which are going to happen. So some of the arguments which team opposition we think are going to bring, one is going to be panic, but I think we have already cleared that issue by saying that we'll only give it to those who want. The second thing they're actually going to bring out is the emotional and the hopelessness bit of this motion. They're going to come and claim that it's going to take an emotional toll and that people actually should not be entrusted with such knowledge. But the rebuttal which I can bring for that is that the individual may actually be able to develop coping mechanisms early enough that will actually be able to help him with his emotional toll. They can choose to keep this knowledge private and only share it with those who actually ask or those who are directly involved. The second thing that they actually may bring out is the sense of responsibility to change their death. Instead of people actually feeling that they need to change people's death, they actually can use this ability to actually help others to prepare for their own death and make most of the time they have left. So this debate is actually going to come down to a few things. One, do we actually need someone who is going to amend relationships? Do we need someone who is going to use this for the greater good? Do we need a person who is going to help people before they die to actually change their lifestyle, to actually make the best of their remaining time on earth, and actually to solve certain issues which are currently happening in society in relation to someone's death? What happens? Two, do we need someone who has a deeper understanding on the value of life and the value of every moment? What do I mean by this? Do we need someone who actually knows how precious life is and how meaningful it is to when we're going to die, how meaningful every second of this world is? If yes, then we actually prefer a life where we have one individual who has that mystic eye of death perception. It's important for someone to have a deeper understanding, so as they actually fully appreciate the value of life, treat it better, and actually live it to the fullest in good faith, and also encourage others to actually know how precious life is and actually to make the best use of it. So after answering those two things, if Team Affirmative proves that this person is actually going to encourage a greater good, use it for the greater good, and two, with this deeper understanding, they're actually going to encourage others, influence others to actually change their lifestyle. But three, if we prove to you that there will actually be no sense of panic in a society because it will be given to those who want, but also it will not be taken an emotional toll of devastatingness and hopelessness in that actual individual, then we believe we as Team Affirmatives will actually hang on to win this debate. The negatives have to prove to us that actually without this thing, we're actually going to solve these issues of family wrangles, and we're actually going to have other ways of solving these issues. But they also have to prove to us that there's going to be a toll on them, which we actually believe we have proven to you will not be there. So I would like to conclude by actually saying that we prefer life with this mystic individual as opposed to an average anonymous life. I beg to submit.
We thank the speaker for their fine speech. Can we please have the first speaker from the opposition side? Here.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, panel. I begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. This house prefers a life a life as the individual with a mystic act of death perception as opposed to living an average anonymous life. Team government comes and give us a description of what they try to see as this individual or what he entirely looks like. We all agree that he entirely is only one person who does not know about his death but knows about the death of other people. First of all, as the POI that was entirely asked by my second speaker, the first speaker was asked that if you find that this person entirely will see your death and tell you that you're going to die in 10 minutes time, will you actually achieve everything that has been provided by team government? Because entirely we see that what they're actually trying to provide to us is only comes in a situation whereby he tells you that maybe you're going to live for so long. We see that the major argument that they actually provide is using it for the greater good. That if this person actually existed, they would use this power or capacity for the greater good. First, to check, these people would check their relationships. Second, people would be able to pay debts. Third, solve family wrangles and as well use it in the medical field. These are the things that are actually provided by team government, which we entirely want to disagree with. First of all, panel, look at this thing, how it is actually going to be more chaotic. Because if this person actually existed, they say that he's one person versus the many. Society that is actually existing today, we see that we only have people that actually have selfish interests. Do you think this person would actually be able to access only the people that actually have good interests in them? And how will he actually be able to know that if I gave this person this capacity, he would not be able to misuse it? That's the first thing where they actually fail out on everything, because this person has no capacity of even changing the death of this person. We see that it is actually more chaotic because, first of all, he cannot be able to know and analyze that this person entirely is a good person. He will be able to solve family wrangles. He will be able to pay debts. He will be able to come up and join up with people. We see entirely what they are trying to provide to us is something basing on what we cannot call reality, because society exists in a way that we have people that have selfish interests. First of all, people like the people in government would decide to actually use this person for their interests or selfish interests that actually benefit them. Now let's see it in this world. Panel, this person will actually be existing in society, first of all, that has religion. That religion buy-in and the chaos he will be causing in society, whereby most of the religions that are actually existing in status quo, religions like Islam and Christianity, where people believe that the death that was put on them, it's only God who has the capacity to see that. That person will actually be living in more life of danger, because first of all, he's contradicting with religion, or he's in a society that has actually been able to take away religion with them, and they entirely believe and they are so strong on that. Another thing, this thing is chaotic in a way that if someone is actually told that you are living for the remaining 8 years, this person, you cannot entirely tell us that he will be in position to actually work so good or be a good person. He would actually decide to use 70 years to do things that are improper, and maybe decide to settle in his last 2 years or 1 year to maybe ask for forgiveness from the past, the God he prays to. So you see that entirely what they are trying to put to the house would be dangerous. When people live a normal average life, and they live a life whereby they feel like they do not know their death, these people are actually forced to act so good because they are not sure of their death. They might think that when you live a life and you think that maybe you're dying tomorrow or in the next 5 minutes, you're actually forced to act so good in society. You are forced to position yourself in a way that is proper, simply because you do not know that you're going to live for so long. So you do what is proper. You are actually able to bridge out the gaps that exist in society. We believe that a person or any human that would be there, even in existence of this, if a person had no desires of bridging the gap in the families, he would actually end up not bridging up this gap. But if he lived a life and he is actually taking it up basing on facts in religion, he would actually be forced to be close to society. He would actually be able to pay debts in a life where he believes that he might die anytime from now. But if you give someone guarantee that he is going to live for so long, Pano, you are just causing chaos. We see that there would be so much community backlash, and we shall be seeing entirely nothing but chaos. We see that actually a case provided by team government is not a bad case, but we entirely believe that it is not practical. Practically, if it is one versus many people, and you are claiming that people who will ask for that are the people you will give it to, that means those few leaders or people who have capacity to actually take away this person, they would be able to do that. They would take away this person to use him for interests that are not proper, as team government actually claims. So you see that in a world where people live a life, when a president himself does not know when his death is coming, he will be forced to do what people need. He will work for his people. But see a life where you tell a president he has capacity to live for the next 40 years. If he has ruled people for 30, he will actually say, let me stand again. Even the level of dictatorship in him would do nothing but increase, simply because they exist it. They are at liberty. They feel like at not single any point that I will die in 2 years' time. So you see, Pano, entirely the panic they actually try to run away from this debate would actually be fit in this debate, because you would not say that team negative will come with this. Yes, we believe that that panic will actually exist, and it will be over weighing what they actually provide, because on a comparative analysis panel, we try to analyze and see which of the two will be bringing a society that is actually stable to live in a way that is not connected, or living a life of actually having fights. So in all those levels of analysis panel, you see that team government provides a case that is not so fit for taking away what we provide to you. People would actually be better if they were positioned to live in a life whereby if at any point or anything came in place, they would be able to live in a way that is normal and stable. We see that we tackle the line of security, religion, society, and the backlash that actually exists, and how they cannot guarantee that this person will actually be giving this information they claim will be given to only the people that would use it effectively for the best purpose. We see that there is a possibility and a greater extent of that person giving out information to people that are not in position of taking it away. Another thing, people would actually, after knowing about their death, or so soon, people will try to change, or will they would try using other means of maybe avoiding death, of which you see that this person has no capacity of even changing the death of these people. So we entirely believe that in our world of peace, there would be more, and we would achieve the best. I beg to the case. Thank you.
It's a thought that people should keep in their minds forever. It's a thought we should have never left in the first place. Why? Nobody can time without a timeline. You can't plan when you don't have a timeline. Every man knows death is inevitable. But the primary problem that we're going to face in this debate is most people speculate as to when their death will be. They say, I'm going to die in the next 80 years. Most people believe they'll die at 80 or 90 or 100. And during this debate, I'm going to show you how from that analysis, we realize a problem inside negative's case. Now, the question of effect of news on a person. And like every case of bad news, a person can initially be broken, but humanity will learn to evolve with it. People have evolved through bad relationships, they've evolved through other people's deaths, fires, burns, victims of acid and whatnot. People inevitably learn to live with the news, and we realize as a side by analysis, it would better their situation to accept a chance of death in the forthcoming future. Now look at the questions that come from side negative. First, if the death comes from an explicitly short time, Short time, 10 minutes. If someone's death is in the next 10 minutes, I'm looking at it as more of an unexpected death. Now, look at a best case scenario. Would you rather go on the road and get hit by a bus? Or would you rather have enough time to say make a call whereby you can apologize to your relative for an argument that you had that you realize could actually haunt them for a long time after your death? The impact of your death on a person, whereby you mend the wrongs that would haunt somebody. We've known cases of people going mentally ill because of an argument they had with somebody where they offended them and there wasn't enough time to apologize. Not forgetting, Pano, the eyes are human. They can know in some cases that it won't benefit a person to have this news. We believe that giving a person a chance to seal their earthly bonds is a very good idea in today's debate. Then most people have selfish interests and cannot know the reason people want to know the day of their death. Pano, we are not personality changers. In their world, look at cases of Hitler and Idi Amin. These men never knew when they were going to die, but they still lived explicitly horrible lives. In fact, because they never knew when they were dying, they behaved as though they were dying practically the very next day by being completely violent, completely immoral in all acts, knowing that they had only one life to live and whatnot, and they ended up making one of the most horrid lives for people like the Jews and the Ugandans. We believe that people estimate. Everyone has an idea when they're going to die. They'll say, you know what, I'm dying at 80. And they're going to live their lives like they're dying at 80. Everyone has an idea of when they will die in their mind subconsciously. The question of no capacity to change the death, we believe that this is the best case scenario, first of all, for the safety of the person, because they're not being treated like a god and that's not wanted to be killed. All they know is, I know when you're going to die. Nobody in today's debate should have a god status. The question of contradicting religion, the person stated that this I has a religion, the mystic I has a religion. Pano, a large majority of people would believe he's God sent. Most religious people would believe he's God sent and has a gift. And he can easily be protected because a large majority of the population would want to maintain him being alive because most people want to know, and I'm going to elaborate on just how functional his use is going to be in society. Then the question of people who hear in news will waste the 70 years and enjoy the 10 years in the event you're told you have 8 years of life. I say, everyone has an estimate of when their life is. People who don't know they are dead have done completely horrible things. Rapists, murderers, serial killers, people who burn down buildings, terrorists. Many of them don't know when they're going to die. And as a result, many of them behave as though they have only 2 seconds left to live. And finally, wanting to avoid your death. Pano, the motion clearly states that death is inevitable. It's imminent. We believe from this point of view, nobody's going to try to avoid their death because they know it is inevitable. I'll ask for the POIs. Now, Pano, I'm going to do a bit of impact analysis. First of all, the impact on the person themselves. This person is going to achieve self-actualization by having a worldwide dominating purpose, as well as live a better life because of the knowledge of their own mortality. Secondly, the people they are telling will prepare. A plan is best made with a timeline, not looking at death in a few months, which is the minority, but majority of people who will die in a decade also. Mortality on their mind will change the way they live. If I know my child has Down syndrome, I'll be less likely to treat them badly because I know they'll only live until 5. Surely I'll say, you know what, I think I can manage you, rather than me putting in all my effort in those 5 years thinking they'll die at 5 and they end up living till 20. And then I start emotionally mistreating them because I expected them to die earlier. Such a case scenario shows that I'll treat you with the right way, with the way I naturally know how to treat people, rather than expecting a kid to die earlier and I mistreat them when they live until 20 and treat them more as a burden. But secondly, a family knowing their deformed daughter will only live up to 20 may not focus on trying to put her in school and integrate her into society, but focus on what she loves. Yes, she's deformed, but what if she likes singing? I'll be more likely to help make her a musician rather than forcing her to become an engineer because I believe no deformity is going to stop my child from achieving her alleged dreams or helping the family move further. In the long run, Pano, a person will always live better when they have a plan. But the question of wastage, a person is less likely to spend a lot of money on medication if they know they will be dead soon. What do I mean? A country like Uganda, whereby even in government hospitals, medication can be expensive when most are below the poverty line, or the United States, which has a very good record for being highly expensive in regards to medication. If a person knows they will be dead soon, they have less chances of wasting most of their money on such medical procedures and more into putting it into the people they are leaving behind, like their children and their loved ones. But again, their quality of life will improve. I'm less likely to postpone my child's recital or their important game or a relationship I should have had when I know I'm going to be dying soon, because now I know the truth. I'm going to take a POI now. Okay. The third thing is strength. If I know I'm dying at 40 and I get an illness at 20, I'll be far more likely to endure it because I know it is not yet my time to die. This is going to give a source of hope to somebody whereby they are more mentally strong. I'll give another chance for POI now. You have about 10 seconds.
Don't you think you have a moral obligation to help those sick people even though they are going to die soon?
I have a moral obligation to help the sick. Now, my moral obligation to help the sick may be giving them food, maybe paying their bills. But I believe that the mystic can still do that in any given situation. But the best moral thing you can do for somebody who is sick at a point is telling them the truth. That's why most doctors will tell you ethically that you have 5 months to live, 2 months to live. It's not because they are horrible. It's because it puts you in the best situation, one, to plan. But by the Hippocratic law itself, it puts a person in a place whereby they know their future. Giving somebody a level of control and understanding that they know their future will help them make better decisions, especially with the people they are leaving behind. As I said, leave money for your kids, leave more money for your children, because it would be better that you do not leave and take all the money, all the resources with you, looking at the case of a poor family. Your medical obligation to a person is to put them in the best case scenario to handle their situation. And I'd like to conclude by saying mortality and the chance of death is a thought that should have never left our minds. And when we don't know it, we invent our own. Thank you.
We thank the speaker from the proposition side for that speech. Can we have second speaker from the opposition? Here.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Nailah, second speaker. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Death usually lurks in the back of our mind, right? Exerting its influence on a subconscious level. Most of the time, we go through our days unaware, not thinking about our mortality. So, what would happen though if the ambiguity or surrounding our own demise were taken away? What if we all suddenly were told the exact date and time of our deaths? And 3 arguments I'm going to forward in this particular debate. How this is a security risk, how it deprives people of their choice, this individual, and how it has a very terrible psychological effect on the person as well as the community. But before I get into that, a bit of rebuttal from side affirmative. So first of all, from there, I'm going to start with that second speech actually. From that second speaker, you get an argument talking about how you can't plan when you have a timeline, right? You can't plan when you don't have a timeline. And honestly, kind of from our side of the case, we show you how our timeline is actually the better one. You're not looking at a time where you are uncertain about when you're dying. So that allows you to avoid that allows you to value the moments because you are unsure of when you're going to die. That looks like a person valuing every single moment of their life. That, oh my God, if we die tomorrow, the next minute or the next day, and that allows you to appreciate life more because you don't know when you're going to die. Unlike someone from their side of the case where they're going to die 8 years time, so they can allow to waste their life how they feel like. And I'm going to be explaining this further in our case. Secondly, I talk about how they give you time to apologize, right, and make amends, right? But no, we disagree on we disagree on this because one of all, we don't believe that the death actually it affects people's life in that particular way, but rather what comes after. We're looking at someone who is likely to die, so being a cute human and apologizing and a person that contributes to society is important to those people because they believe that after death they will be judged by a God who will look at what they did during their life. So death itself isn't a motivator to apologize or make amends with people. It is rather whether they go to heaven or hell. So, and then they talk about how fascists like Hitler and don't sorry, they talk about fascists like Hitler and how these people who like didn't know they were going to die they didn't know when they were going to die and therefore it treated horribly. We disagree on this argument because we feel that people like Hitler, I believe, didn't even believe in in heaven, right? A deity, a being that is going to judge people when they die. So these are people who believe that hurting people and everything was on life and everything ends after you die. So their arguments fall out. Let me talk about how self-actualization is important, right? And I understand, right? Like you get more fulfillment when you're unsure. Like I said in the beginning, when you're unsure, and then you contemplate more on what you're going to do. So when they come to talk about how they spend less on medication, I feel like this is it actually harms their case, because first of all, people have a moral obligation. If I'm going to die in the next week, I feel like I deserve medication for my health, right? I know I'm going to die, but what is the point of going through the pain? This is what psychology argues, which actually harms their case. So moving on to my arguments, right? What do we bring to what they talk about, right? We talk about how it actually has a big psychological effect on people, that the person themselves and the community. What do I mean by this? When psychology comes and talks about how it's impactful in a way that solves arguments and those family wrangles, we disagree. Why? Because we understand that when you're more aware of what happens when you're going to die, people become more nihilistic, right? This looks like people drinking, smoking, eating in excess, right? Because we are less concerned and care or caring about the environment. Because I'm going to die later in life. So what is the point now, right? Or I'm going to die tomorrow or in the following day. So what is the point of me caring about an environment or worrying about, because you're going to be, because you're not going to be affected by it, because you're going to die tomorrow. So knowing about it, right? It also becomes racist, because we understand that in our first we talk about how backlash is a very motivating factor, where people don't do things because they're afraid of what is happening. People are going to become racist, right? Become racist and violent and environmentally destructive, because they know that the backlash won't happen to them, because they know that nothing's going to happen because I'm going to die soon. And also secondly, this is due to because they understand that the death anxiety triggers, right? So the more neurotic and anxious you are about you're going to die the following month, yeah? You're more preoccupied with death, and you're unable to focus on the meaningfulness, right? The meaningfulness of life events and changes. You're likely to attend a birthday party because you know you're going to die the following month. So what's the point? So if you have been better, it would have been better if something could have been done, right? If something could be changed, or if you can solve this problem. But kind of that isn't the case. So you're looking at parents, right? Parents who are going to go through grief. So you say that, you can ask for it, you're not forcing anyone to have it. So you're basically just putting a poster that anyone who wants, people want to know when they're going to die, because people want to know. So you're going to find parents want to know if their child are going to die. So what happens here is people are going to go through grief twice. You're finding parents crying, grieving over their child who's very much alive, but the fact that they're going to die the following year, oh my god, it's so traumatic, and this is actually affects their mind. So then also secondly, the individual. This is a person whose identity is about their
information.
I'll take your PI.
Doctors currently in modern world are the closest thing we have to the person with a mystic eye. Why would a doctor tell you when you're going to die?
To understand, to weigh the options, but it doesn't mean, but the uncertainty is there, because people who are told, you're going to die within a year, and they live 5 years more, that is the kind of uncertainty we have on our side of the case. How we show you how side of proposition fails to understand the importance of the uncertainties. You're finding people who are identified as grim reapers, people who are going to be known as people who know when someone dies, right? These are going to be discriminated and marginalized society because their whole identity is death. And this is how it affects these people. Why? Because they are treated as killers, they're treated as that. It doesn't matter whether you cause it or not. The fact that you know when someone dies, it affects you because people are going to be more violent and discriminative against you. Then I also point to security. This is where it comes when people go after that particular person because they feel like the person caused it because they know it. This is a kind of a psychological phenomenon, right? When people don't understand the actual facts, but rather want to attack the particular individual who they think is causing it, and that is likely to happen in their side of the case. So what do I bring to you, Pan, on this debate? We show how the psychological impacts on their side of the case are more harmful to the community, and how it affects them on a very, very deep analysis on how, on how there is less there's self-actualization, where people feel that they are living to their death, not rather living in the moment. And then also, secondly, we show you how there is no stop in family wrangles. Why? Because death itself doesn't affect their life, rather what comes after. So you're living to go to heaven, but death doesn't cause that. So we feel like, wanting to make amends doesn't happen on their side of the case because death doesn't lead to that. And then also, thirdly, we show you how choice is kind of prevented on that side of the case, and therefore side opposition wins this debate. Thank you.
We thank that speaker for their speech. Can we please have the next speaker for the proposition side? Here.
All right, so I'm going to start my speech in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that someone's network is directly equivalent to their net worth. You see, with great power comes great responsibility. These are all sayings based on how much people should value their lives. I'm going to be a third affirmative speaker in today's debate, and I'm going to show you why the affirmative team seals a win for today's debate. Why the team that gives purpose to life is a team affirmative versus the team that is pretending that nothing is real and nothing can be done on the other side. I'm going to rebut and wait for the clashes in today's debate. For starters, we came and told you about how we're going to be helping people in the medical field, how we could be using this for good, ladies and gentlemen. You see, we came and told you that would help people to prepare for their deaths. So look at the best case scenario where someone has a decade to live or 5 years to live. This person has enough time to place in insurance policies, investment policies that will be helping their families. Something that on the other side can't really guarantee. The other side couldn't really guarantee you from the beginning. They left that as an underlying argument, which seals the win for us, ladies and gentlemen. We also came and told you about how we'll be able to comfort the grieving people, ladies and gentlemen. People who expect their family members to die within, let me say, 5 years, expect their children to die within 5 years. Rather than them crying about the child, they're going to actually show this child more love, more affection, versus people who expect their child to die any single time, ladies and gentlemen. We also came and told you about being able to solve I'll leave that for security bits. You see, that alone outweighs the panic that they tried to raise in today's debate, ladies and gentlemen. We also came and told you about making the important decisions. We told you that our lives need a plan, ladies and gentlemen. We came and told you that to help someone to plan out the career that they're going to take, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has been doing a job that doesn't really benefit them, a job where they're being stressed out. I'm working from, let me say, 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the night, ladies and gentlemen. Someone can actually take more time for himself, ladies and gentlemen. Came and told you about how it's going to help people fix their relationships, ladies and gentlemen. If someone knows they don't have that much time, they'll spend more time maybe running into sunsets and showing love to those that matter to them. Since we know that the people in our lives are actually what give our life meaning. And that's how the affirmative team is improving the quality of life that people live. You see, they came and told you that you don't need to have a timeline to plan out your life, ladies and gentlemen. But the fact that people live in uncertainty lets people drink themselves silly, get drunk, people start raping others because they do not know exactly when their life is going to end. You see, they don't value every moment as it is because they think that they still have more time, ladies and gentlemen. That's what sets the affirmative team for the win in today's debate. We also came and told you about having a deeper understanding. You see, ladies and gentlemen, it's the people we meet in this life that make it meaningful. That's why people would, let me say, ignore jobs abroad just to stay with their families, where people would abandon scholarships just to stay home with their families, because these are the people that matter to them. That's why people would actually move an extra mile to make things better for people around them. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the people in our lives. And so giving people an awareness about how much time they have left is going to create a deep understanding for their family members, ladies and gentlemen, and it's going to make them value their lives more, ladies and gentlemen. That is something that the negative team came and told you that it's not that simple. They came and said that people find more fulfillment in uncertainty, which is not true, ladies and gentlemen, logically, and that's why the affirmative team actually wins this debate. Not knowing when you're going to die won't give you the comfort of knowing that if I do this, I'll be able to make an impact, ladies and gentlemen. You see, affirmative team is helping you to connect with others, to comfort them, to bring them closure, ladies and gentlemen. And that's something that the world really needs at this time. See, that's how we give people purpose in their lives, compared to pretending like nothing is real, ladies and gentlemen. You see, we allow you to build a coping, having this mystic eyes is going to allow you to build a coping mechanism. All right, we accepted that people are going to actually be shocked, people are going to be anxious when they first receive this information. A mystic eyes doesn't guarantee us a right or that a way of making sure people taking this news well. We actually give these people a coping mechanism. All right, someone is going to die. Let's not waste all this money that would have spent in the hospital, but rather enjoy the moments we have with these people, ladies and gentlemen. That's the kind of mentality we are giving the people in today's debate. We're giving them purpose, ladies and gentlemen. I'm also going to tell you about our moral obligation about helping the sick, ladies and gentlemen. We believe the best help you could give anyone right now is the truth, and that's something that they cannot counter, ladies and gentlemen, because lying to people that they have more time to live or they don't have enough time to live is just going to keep bringing more pain, more mistrust among people, ladies and gentlemen. You see, this whole debate has been running around two lines. The panic, how people are going to see this information, and what people are going to use this information for. They came and told you that so many people in this world are really selfish, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not our obligation with Mystic Eyes to actually change people's personality. We just want to give people a purpose in life, ladies and gentlemen. If they came and gave you examples of presidents who would have, like, let me say, an extra 40 years and are going to torture people for like the next 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't exactly change that for the person because we might not actually meet these people in the flesh. In case you look at the negative side, they actually just fold their hands to, okay, the president is going to die anytime, and then they have no logical impact that they're going to provide to the community like we have offered today in today's debate. You see, they come and say that there's going to be government control where government is going to use these videos for their own benefits, ladies and gentlemen. That's something that we cannot, that's something that you cannot actually that's something that you cannot actually guarantee, and that's not even in the best case scenario. Look at the situation where this person is actually going to help members of his immediate community, ladies and gentlemen, to actually get better. Forget about the bigger countries, because right now we want to give people a purpose in life. We want to give individuals a purpose in life. That's the only way we can actually impact the country as a whole. You see, they can't tell you about the religious barriers in all this, but then if you look into religion, you actually realize that every God helps. You see, every religion has these testimonies about how this God heals the lame, how this God treats the sick, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the religion is actually going to be a chance to this boy to embrace this human being for being like a vessel that God is using to talk to them, ladies and gentlemen. You see, he's actually going to be believed in as a God, and that guarantees him his safety, his necessity in the community. You see, we don't guarantee you change. That's something we accept. But then statistically, if you look at people planning out their lives, ladies and gentlemen, you see people are going to actually be doing it for the better of those around them. They're going to be doing it for the better of their lives, the remaining time they have in their lives, ladies and gentlemen. You see, they come and tell you that it's not practical. But ladies and gentlemen, if you look into this debate, giving people a chance to know what is going to happen is going to let them plan for their families, their insurance, their investments, something they're going to take more seriously, ladies and gentlemen. And that's something that negative team hasn't really come and shown you that their side of the house of not knowing when to do what is going to actually help them, ladies and gentlemen. You see, person can be taken away, ladies. They came and also told us that the person can be taken away. Well, they start to consider the person actually has value in the community, and that's why they would be hidden from the rest. But ladies and gentlemen, that also means that this person deserves protection, and this person deserves to do what he's doing so that he can make a change in his world, ladies and gentlemen. You see, now they come and tell us about the psychological effect, about anxiety, about crying for a child who is still alive, ladies and gentlemen. But also showing you that the person who's going to cry, the person who's going to come anxious actually loves this person and needs to show them more love, ladies and gentlemen. That's what the affirmative team is pushing for, ladies and gentlemen. How can you give someone more purpose in life to use the last minutes of their life? You see, they come and tell you about security, discrimination, marginalization, taking the person as a killer. That means that as a affirmative team, we need to work better on the understanding, give the people understanding about what we are doing, about how we explain to them how their lives are about in, not showing them that you're going to die and that's the end of it. There's nothing you can do. Show a person that it's not actually our fault, but then you can use this as a reference point to move on in your life, ladies and gentlemen. You see, the person shouldn't be taken as a curse, but really as a person who's going to be helping you in your life, ladies and gentlemen. With that, I'd leave you with this picture. If doctors are doing it today, doctors are telling cancer patients how long they have to live, and they aren't pinning doctors down, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think that we should be pinned down for what we are doing, ladies and gentlemen. With that, I rest our case.
Thank you, speaker, for your speech. Can we please have the third speaker for the opposition side? The unwanted unknowns, are you there?
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Can someone confirm? Okay. I'm going to start.
Yes,
my
you're
speech.
audible.
So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, notice one thing we got from the whole proposition bench. All their benefits and all their substantive etc. mainly goes to one side of the debate, i.e., the person who is going to receive the death information, right? They do not show us how this mystic eye, they don't give us enough substantive as to how this mystic eye is going to be beneficial to the person themselves. But rather, what do they tell you from their speech? And I particularly quote, he said that this person has great responsibility, and he also said that they will be emotionally drained. This is exactly why we don't support a life whereby you have that sort of mystic eye. To make matters worse, the mechanism they gave us is this part you can only know when you're going to die is if you ask the person, right? This person, not that this person may be, what if this mystic eye was blessed with a person who doesn't care? Just ask me and I will tell you. There is that sort of possibility. At a point in time, even whereby some people actually will not be able to perceive the information, or this information could be there to them. They are able to receive this information, which is going to be extremely problematic, as I'm going to tell you. But panel, before I go into the clashes, note that this person, like we have heard that like it has been said earlier in this debate, can see when you're going to die and can tell you. This is the person who can tell when his own mother is going to die. This is the same person who is going to tell when his own father is going to die. At the end of the day, this is going to be mentally draining to him himself. Even forget that, how is he going to live whereby, like, I can ask him, when am I going to die? And he tells me tomorrow. And then I burst into tears. That sort of emotional trauma. It's not like everyone is going to perceive this information well, even in the event that they act like they are strong. Not that the INFOSLIDE says it's any person he meets, right? He's not necessarily going to know everyone he meets. At the end of the day, him seeing people break down and trying to being extremely certain, like their mental health going sour, literally affects he himself, right? But then, panel, what have been the major clashes of this debate? The first major clash has been on chaos. Which side of the house there's chaos or panic happen more? And secondly, which side of the house achieves utility? But let's first look at the argument of utility. What do we get from proposition? They come and really give us this amazing case. They come and tell us how people are going to all of a sudden solve family wrangles, how a person who is how doctors will be able to treat people well, how a person will live a better life, how you amend relationships, etc. etc. They come and really give us this, touching case, right? Let's look at even what we got from the second speaker, right? Let's just use her same example. Idi Amin. If Idi Amin knew he was going to die the next day, do you magically think he would make family relationships or like do good? Or they even came and told us how that speaker came and told us how they are going to run in the sunset, right? But that I'll engage on it later. Do you really think, no thank you, I will ask for it. Do you really think family amendments are just going to be solved like that? Because there is so much to more than all of this, right? They're going to be solved like that just because they're going to die. But even secondly, let me then prove to you how this is not possible, right? Not that this person is literally, he has one of the greatest abilities of all time, i.e., to see when people are dying. This is a person who this is like the most likely chance. He's going to be taken by the UN or any other government body to keep himself, because the gift he has is great. Right? He has the ability to tell when a president will die, when anyone will die, and not that for his security to keep himself, given that he has this much power, he's most likely going to be taken into captivity. First of all, he's only one person in the world, right? People are going to look down for this guy to get him right and to keep him. etc. At the end of the day, even when they come to and preach to us about the family relationships being mended, the doctors, etc., all that sort of utility, if that does not happen, plus even if that was the case, even if you don't buy into this idea, this is only one person, he's only meets it's not like he's going to meet everyone in the world. At the end of the day, they paint their utility as this sort of big picture, how he's going to help everyone. That is not necessarily the case, right? If you tell This even brings us down to our second class, right? On the point of panic, right? Their main thing was how people are going to run into success and sunsets, how they will develop this sort of coping mechanism, and yeah, that's the whole thing, right? People will develop a coping mechanism for this. Can you even note that people who just fail near exams literally mentally drain themselves? Some people even kill themselves for just failing for just uh for just failing exams. They don't necessarily show us how this coping mechanism is just going to work, right? But even if you don't buy into this idea, not that if I tell you you're going to die, you're not going to find a coping mechanism. The only thing that's going to be in your head is, okay, I'm going to die tomorrow. What is going to kill me? Is it me going into the house? Is it me is it me let's say climbing a tree, etc. You're not going to find a coping mechanism. The only thing in your head is going to be what can I do not to die? This is extremely problematic in that you can't achieve that sort of utility you want to achieve. I.e., if let's say you want to go out and debate or go out ride a bicycle, etc., or running the sunset, you cannot do that given that now the fear of death is here. Anything can kill you at any one point in time. You're going to be extremely paranoid to avoid that death psychologically, even in the event that that's not possible. If I continue, POI, 3, 2.
POI, thank you.
Uh-huh.
The benefit of knowing your death is very common in the medical field. When doctors tell you about your death, they do it from a point.
Exactly. Perfect. Thank you so much. Note that doctors don't necessarily tell you you're going to die on this date and on this time, and it's not like doctors tell every sick patient they're going to tell. They're literally strawmanning the whole thing, right? Doctors don't tell every patient that goes to the hospital that they're going to tell on this date you're going to die on this date and this time. First of all, they give an estimation that is merely wrong. Secondly, how sure it's not even draining to the what? Psychologically draining to the doctor himself and the patient, right? That's one thing we did for them. But then they come and tell us how they would have, from the first speech, they come initially told us how they would have an opportunity to interact with the person and provide comfort and closure. But no, this is not necessarily going to happen because, first of all, this person doesn't have an obligation to whoever they meet, so they may not sit down and have a chat. But even secondly, even when they do, we already told you how these are many people. So at the end of the day, if this guy, let's say, has things he's going to achieve, first of all, he's most likely going to be locked up by the UN or any other influential body because he literally has this gift, right? And even the argument of religion, their response to our argument on religion was that this person is going to be as a person sent from God. But not that people take religious books as gospel truth, right? The moment some other person comes in and let's say has an ability that is godlike, some people will not take this seriously, given that it's not there, let's say in the Bible or Quran, etc. At the end of the day, he's still going to be in danger. Not everyone is going to achieve him. So why then do we win this debate? Firstly, we come and tell you that this is extremely problematic for the person who has this gift. Secondly, even to society, like we told you earlier, we told you how it's going to cause chaos, we told you how it's going to cause panic, but even thirdly, the utility that we have got from a proposition does not stand in this debate. Proud to oppose.
We thank the speaker for their speech. Can we please have the opposition reply?
Okay, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Before I get into what was discussed within this debate, let's first understand something that actually came out a lot in this debate. That position consistently argues about how doctors predict when someone dies. Not that the motion is talking about one individual who tells you the exact date and time, but rather doctors aren't even sure. We will even proudly vouch that people who have lived more years than what was predicted by a doctor. So that doesn't stand in this debate. Moving to what was discussed in this debate, right? From their first speaker. They talk about how people, they're given what they want, and also brings comfort and closure to people who are about to die. And they also argue that it can be used for a greater good, utility, like helping people do things before dying and helping people make wills. And finally, we understand that that is all great and good, but they have not shown a linkage on how this actually helps, or how maybe is it the individual helping, or there was no particular linkage to the debate. And also, secondly, they talk about how the impact is solving family wrangles, and the analysis here I feel was lacking. What the first speaker says, I feel like this was addressed from our first negative speaker when he came and talked about how people, the backlash that is going to occur when people know about when they are going to die, the kind of crisis, the chaos that is going to likely happen. And I feel that was analyzed or really pointed to by side opposition. Proposition. And side opposite proposition comes and talks about how there is time to apologize and make amends and what. But I feel like this was very specifically handled by side opposition when we come and say that death doesn't in itself affect their lives. The reason why people go in and out of their ways to help people is because of what is likely to happen after they die. Not that death does anything, but rather what happens after death. It looks like God judging people for the lives they live, and we kind of basis on this people are religious, right? So people who want to go to heaven and they decide to apologize and make amends. So death itself isn't a motivator, but whether they go to heaven is. And I feel that that was even responded to by side proposition. They talk about self-actualization, but we prove, aside opposition, how life is more fulfillful when you're not unsure and you live every moment like it was your last. And there was no response from side opposition. They talk about fascists like Hitler and how he does it and how he's a very bad person because he didn't know he was going to die in a particular time. But understand that people like Hitler did know about heaven. That is what we mean. People who want to go to heaven, death doesn't motivate them to be good, but rather the fact that they feel like everything ends after they die. So people who believe in heaven, or people who believe there's something going to happen after heaven, or people who are generally good, that is the reason why they do good things. But people like Hitler, no. They are bad people in general who don't believe in heaven or hell, but it's not death that I'm going to die in this particular time, so I'm going to do good. So also I talk about how people spend less on medication, and I feel like this particularly harmed their case when our side came and talked about how it degrades the importance of a moral obligation to help these people. I'm going to die next month, but there's no reason why I can't be given an ad bill for the pain because we're wasting medicine. So says proposition. So our side came and talked about backlash, right? That the reason why the death anxiety triggers, right? People who act more anxiously, right? They are so preoccupied with the death and going to die in a particular time that they miss out on the meaningful events of life. And I think that's particularly harmful because people are they feel like their life is meaningless, right? Treating it like something that doesn't mean anything at all. And that was not responded to. So we win the debate on the clashes of the psychological trauma, on the security and the backlash that is likely to occur. And for these reasons, that side opposition wins. And I beg to rest. If he is going to speak. Wait.
We thank that speaker for their speech. Can we please have opposition reply?
Thank you. Thank you for your time. Yes, my time will be starting in. Yes.
Sorry,
please?
just a sec. Opposition reply. Can you please mute your mic? Thank you. Top reply, you can go on.
All right, panel. My response will be starting in 3, 2, 1. Primarily the doctor relation. Why do doctors tell you when you go? Nothing that they tell you from a point of certainty where they are sure, where they know that this is the time you die. Panel, should the benefit of knowing your death be restricted to, say, cancer patients was an important question in today's debate. Aren't we all worthy? Was the question. But panel, we feel like in today's world, to plan best for your life, it is wiser to know when you will die, as stated, because most people would rather guess and estimate when they'll die. We feel as though the best plan comes from knowledge of your death. Doctors do not remain hated by the majority. They do not remain in any state marginalized. Why? Because they tell you the truth. The second question in this debate was chaos and panic because of the news. But panel, we gave firstly a direct relation to the medical field, whereby most people don't actually highly overreact once they've received such information. We believe that chaos and panic is a very small scale result because most people tend to have acceptance to their death because they know it's certain, as stated by earlier speakers. Then who will make you the better person? Religion, the afterlife, or the knowledge of death? Being the fact that most people are not religious, and in cases whereby people tend to be religious anyway, most of them do not actually change their habits, we felt as though death is an all-harming factor. Why? Because it's seen everywhere. You see death, you know it's definitely going to happen. Yet religious people commit sins. So we as a side believe that death is the best humbling factor because it's a well-accepted fact. Then the question, which model works best in today's world? A world full of insurance policies, a world full of wills, a world full of changes. We felt as though earlier preparation, in accordance with the Hippocratic law, that's the law doctors follow, is the wisest point of route. Reason being, when somebody knows they can die, they can ensure those they leave behind maintain full benefit. Now, one of the most crucial questions remains malicious intent. But panel, we stated, in fact, I remember stating in my speech that this person is not godlike. And because they are not godlike and cannot change the death of death, it cannot serve as leverage because they don't have power. All they are going to do is tell you a death which will never change. Because of the absence of this godlike nature, they have less chances of being malicious or even going into captivity, which is a very rare situation, because nobody will take you seriously because all you do is state a date. So we felt as though, from my speech, the ungodlike nature of the eye puts them in a very safe situation. And lastly, and most importantly, which world is best for the eye? The moral hold is something that's going to pull the person. Yes, they'll know that they could probably know the death of their families and whatnot, but we believe that many a man, there are cases whereby people know about the death of their relatives, there are cases whereby people know about the death of all their friends and whatnot, say cancer situations and whatnot, and yet these people stay strong. So we as a side strongly believe that the world best for the eye is that where they have a full universal purpose, a purpose of self-actualization, a purpose whereby they know that yes, they are carrying a load, a painful load, but many a man in today's world carries a painful load. Doctors, as I've used them as a reference, carry a painful load. They know a person is going to die, yet that service still pushes them forward. Medicine is still one of the most wanted courses in the world. Why do we see that thing? The sacrifice that comes with something is one of the strongest emotional pulls that can take you to something. When all is said and done, you have to know. To know is to plan, and to plan is to live the best life possible. Thank you.
A big thank you to all speakers that spoke in today's round. I and my panelists will be having about 20 minutes to just deliberate and get back to you with the oral adjudication. So please do well to just stay on the channel so that we don't get to look for everybody. So yes, panelists, can you please meet me in room 10? Thank you.